There are multiple things that come into play with direct indexing, in my opinion, make it superior to owning 40 Act funds, ETFs, or mutual funds. Personally, my biggest reason and why I hold direct indexes in my own accounts is for the transparency or direct ownership of the securities. That is not the most common reason, especially when you look at material. That's not the most common reason quoted. For me personally, that's the biggest thing for me. I want to be able to see the stuff I own right in my account and not have an opaque or a non-transparent layer in between me and my assets, which we call an ETF or a mutual fund. Some people love ETFs and mutual funds. I personally prefer to eliminate them from my world and directly own the stocks in my portfolio and be able to see on my statement all of the cost associated with owning that portfolio. Whereas in the mutual fund and ETF world, I don't have a prospectus in front of me right now, but if I did, I'd show you. It's a big, thick book that describes all of the fees and all the structure within those 40 Act funds. So that's my personal reason. Outside of the transparency or direct ownership of the underlying securities, there's significant tax advantages and custom or customizing capabilities. So the tax advantage side of the equation, it's a really simple concept. It confuses some advisors because it does get a little hard to understand at times. But when we own, let's say, 1,000 different securities, 1,000 different stocks instead of 10 or 15 ETFs, if you just look at the mathematics, the potentiality to do things like harvest losses goes up significantly because now we have the ability to harvest losses, well, of 1,000 different securities instead of just 10 like we normally see in an ETF or a mutual fund portfolio. So simple example, if I own the S&P 500 index fund, if my fund as a whole, which is composed of all 500 of those stocks, happens to be down, then I can sell that position and create a loss. But there's always positions out of those 500 stocks that are down at any given time. So when we have all of the individual constituents of an index, it gives us the capability to take any small little segment. Maybe it's a specific sector, like the financial sector or whatever, or maybe it's just a couple of specific companies that have gone through some rough times. We end up having the capability to sell and create losses in those individual positions. And again, just mathematics. We have more potentiality because we have more potential positions where losses can be harvested. The customization piece is the final cog in the wheel here, if you want to look at it like that. The customization is phenomenal. So here's an example. You've got a client that's, let's say, is employed by Charles Schwab, and they have a significant amount of Charles Schwab stock in their portfolio already, stock options, and you just name it. They've got lots of Schwab stock in their financial world. So in the ETF and mutual fund space, when we buy an S&P 500 mutual fund or ETF, we can't ask that mutual fund or ETF family to remove Charles Schwab from the portfolio. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. So when we direct index, that gives us the capability to customize not only something like that, but anything that the person either wants that's outside of the norm or doesn't want. So they want to restrict the financial sector in general. They want to restrict real estate because they own a lot of real estate, bricks and mortar real estate. Maybe it's ESG investing, environmental friendly stuff, whatever that's desired. We can screen for that and customize the portfolio instead of being pigeonholed into, keep using the S&P 500 as an example, all of those 500 stocks that are in that index with no ability to make any adjustments.